Hi, welcome to the eighth part of the lecture series on the money and interest rate. Uh, this lecture series is part of the this lecture series is part of the course Introduction to Economics, and it's prepared for the Middle Technical University Northern Cyprus campus. Last time I said actually we could change all the 0.1s, which was equal to the reserve ratio, with just the term reserve ratio. Uh, Basically, what we have done is we had this base money, which was money in circulation, the total amount of paper money, and that paper money was given to the banks upon the deposit. And then the bank sent keep the amount which is equal to the $100,000 times the reserve ratio, the percentage which you want to keep in its reserves, and send the rest basically, which is 100,000 times 1 minus RR, back to the economy. And then this 100,000 times 1 minus RR come back to the bank. Uh, the reserve, the amount equal to the, this amount times reserve ratio is sent to the reserves. The rest is sent back to the economy, which is equal to this amount that came to the bank times 1 times the reserve ratio. So we got now 100,000 times 1 minus RR in parentheses square back in the economy. That amount come back to the bank, and then again that amount times RR is kept in reserve. That amount times 1 minus RR is sent back to the economy, so it continues. So we have an expression like this. And when we have an expression like this, this expression can be turned to 1000 times 1 over 1 minus this amount. 1 minus 1 minus in parentheses 1 minus RR is basically plus RR. So we have 100,000 times RR. Note that 100,000 was also our base money. So we can basically turn it to this. So we have seen the process, but in the end, we can summarize this process in this way. Base money in the economy is fixed, which is in this case $100,000. It always remains the same. The deposits are the base money divided by the reserve ratio, which is 1 divided by the reserve ratio was the money multiplier. So this is 1 million. 10% of this amount is held in the bank, which is 100,000 times 10% in reserves, and the rest is basically loan to the people. That's the end point. So this is the time when the loans that are sent to the economy already come back. I mean, the money that is sent as loans to the back to the economy have already come back. So the process has continued infinite times, and in the end, we got all money back to the deposits. But of course, the people who have taken the money from the bank are still owning that money to them, to the bank or the banking system, basically. So, well, in this system, you can see very well when you play with the reserve ratio, for example, make it 0.05, I am decreasing it. The amount of money in the system has rise because I mean the money is sent more. And more of the money each time is sent to the system compared with the amount that is held in reserves. the money multiplier increases. It was previously 1 over 0.1, now it's 1 over 0.05. Previously it was 10, now it is become 20 as a result. So for the same base money, $100,000, our money supply is twice higher, $2 million. What did we lose? Now, from this $2 million, for this $2 million, only $100,000 is in the bank. Even, let's say, 5% of the people who are handling their money in deposits might actually destroy the whole banking system. And in that case, money supply will now shrink to the $100,000, which will be problematic for the economy. I mean, the economic system will lack basically the money to function. Of course, the prices could adjust, but that would take time, and up to that time, the economy will basically slow down. We can also increase the reserve ratio. Let's increase it to 20%. Well, in that case, the money supply will decrease to $50,000 basically in the economic system. But now, of course, we have a less fragile banking system basically. It's usually accepted that more money in the economic system, I mean, besides inflation, having more money in the economic system might be beneficial because for the activities you might need more money. If you don't increase the money at an equal amount of the increase in production level in the system, well, in that case, the system should adjust. Well, if you have more output, but the amount of money is the same, basically the prices of the products will fall because there won't be enough money to buy them, so the prices will decrease. But that decreased deflation will be harmful for the producers, especially small producers. So for the economic system, that might be detrimental. I mean, that might mean a crisis. So this natural adjustment process is usually something not that much wanted. So basically, money supply usually people should increase an amount equal to the increase in production level, basically. So but basically we should note that, and a sudden decrease in money supply is something not that much preferred. Basically, especially this bank run problem, which might be very well the case because the banks might to decrease their reserve ratio to low amounts so that they can lend more money to the people. The banking system is usually regulated and supported also. So the banks are not allowed to go bankrupt, so people don't lose trust to the banking system. They will continue to hold their money in the banking system, and they won't suddenly panic and take the money back. So that's why the banking system is supported, but also regulated, because if the banking system becomes too fragile, it may become too costly for the government, basically, support the banking system. So both these regulations and the support is taking place, and central bank is the main institution that is doing that. This is one of its duties. In addition to that, it might have a second duty. We will talk in the coming lecture, but for now we are talking on this duty. So how does the central bank regulate the banking system? It might set a required minimum reserve ratio. So it might say RR cannot fall below a certain amount, 0.1, for example. Usually, there is no maximum amount, but there is a minimum amount. Usually people think that the banks will go to the minimum amount directly. But sometimes they might also want to feel safe if they think the trust of the banking system is decreasing. And also, they don't trust the people who lend the money. They might say, okay, let's have more money in reserves instead of lending the money because we might not get some loans back, they might think. And then there's capital requirement. That's what we have seen in the beginning. I mean, the banks, we have assumed in the coal bank case, the bank doesn't have its own money, its own capital, basically. It's used just other people's money. But basically, for all deposits in the bank, for example, if there's $1 million deposits that is directly brought by the people, the central bank might require, let's say, 20% of all these deposits should also be put by the bank owner itself. So now for in the place of this, well, in our case of call bank, the bank now should put an additional two, for example, in this case, if it is 20%, in that case, our call bank should put 20% of $500,000 into the banking system. In that case, initially when it does that, it will basically mean that it will get an additional 20% of this amount. Times this amount. I'm sorry, of course, this is 0, comma. And it can lend all of this amount, this additional 20% actually, basically. So this would mean this amount should be actually $400,000 plus this additional 20%. So this can be the case in that case, because yes, this can be. I mean, in that case, of course, I mean, this additional $100,000 that is added to the system might be lent, since reserve ratio is the main amount that is setting deposit reserve balance. But at least from the loans it is given to the other people, or in the banking system itself, it might require a certain amount of money should belong to the bank owner itself. It should not be the money of well, deposit insurance, these are the support mechanisms. Usually in United States, for example, if you have an amount in the banks that are guaranteed, I mean, there are certain ones that are not taking the approval of the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. There's a special department that is looking for that. And if that the department agrees from bank to function, as agrees says that this is a functional bank, we approve, all money in the bank below $250,000 will be insured, which means if the bank is not able to pay you the money back, in that case, the FDIC will pay you that money back. We have a similar institution called BDDK. I mean, in Turkey, we have a similar institution. So this is another protection, and this is a very good protection for the banks also, because people won't panic. People will think that they will get their money anyway back, especially the small depositors. Then you have discount window. That's actually if the banks don't have enough reserves, enough money available initially because of maybe some loans that don't come back, they can borrow money from Fed or central bank. So those are the typical two support mechanisms and regulations. There are more, but these are good examples and major ways of supporting and basically regulating the banking system. So, if you're interested, you can look to the subject, and you can see more ways of supporting and more ways banking system is supported and regulated. Well, now we will see the way the Fed or the central banks are actually regulating the whole financial system, not only supporting the banks and basically regulating the banks, but how they can actually regulate the whole financial system, the way it functions. And they usually do that by regulating the money supply. Note that money supply is also depending not only to basically base money, but also to the reserve ratio. And reserve ratio is not in full control of central banks, although base money is, because they can basically increase our money, increase the base money in the economy. They can set a minimum reserve ratio, but they usually don't set a maximum reserve ratio. So the reserve ratio can vary from this minimum amount. For more of this, we will continue this discussion in the next part. See you in the next part.